everybody, and welcome back to another Logan Blackman Show United States men's national team preview. This game, or this video, I guess, is of course covering the United States' upcoming matchup against Panama, a game that always stresses me out. This game, it doesn't matter how good the United States is or how good Panama is, this is a game that, you know what, if the United States isn't careful, they'll pay. They will pay, as we saw in the 2023 Gold Cup where they lost on penalties. Now, granted, that was a very, lesser squad for the United States men's national team. I mean, you saw players that are nowhere near the squad right now in that team. I mean, Matt Turner was in the net, obviously, in that tournament. He had some big saves against Canada in the game before, but against Panama, it just didn't work out. It didn't work out. Jesus Ferreira dominated that tournament, had himself an amazing tournament, but he's nowhere to be found anymore. He's not really to be found. That discourse around Jesus Ferreira back then was very, very interesting, but that Panama game was just, it hurt. It really hurt. It's one of those things where it didn't really matter what kind of squad the United States brought to the Gold Cup or whatever squad Mexico brought to the Gold Cup. Regardless, it is expected of both national teams to make it to the final. The tournament is set up for the United States and Mexico to meet in the final every single year, and the United States failed to deliver on their part last year. Obviously, Mexico went on to win the final at Alberto Carlos Cuela. He won the Golden Ball in that tournament. He had a great tournament, well, obviously, because he won the Golden Ball, but we're not here to talk about the 2023 Gold Cup. We're not here to talk about that. If you want to go check out our 2023 Gold Cup videos, and especially our preview against Panama, I know it was a year ago, but you can go check that out in the description, or I'll link it somewhere on screen right now for you if you want to go check it out. Feel free. Feel free. I don't even remember what the score prediction we had in that one, but I was not really fully expecting a loss, and maybe that's what I'm thinking here. Maybe that's the wrong style of thinking here as we go in to this matchup down in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where the United States is coming off a 2-0 win against Bolivia down in Arlington, Texas. And before we get into any of that, break, make sure to check out all the links in the description below for all the different Logan Blackman Show stuffs, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video if you enjoy it, which you like before you try it here on the Logan Blackman Show YouTube channel. So, yeah, go check out the links down there. You can also check out our latest video that we did on the preview against Bolivia. You can see how that stacked up to how the game actually went. But that game against Bolivia, it's one of those things where it's weird because you can't really take necessarily a lot of positives out of a game like this, because it's a game where you were expecting the United States to absolutely dominate, and they did. The problem with the game, though, is that it could have been, and probably should have been, so much worse than what it was. So obviously the score ended up being 2-0 in favor of the United States. Christian Pulisic got a goal in the 3rd minute. Great outside, or not outside the box, just on the edge of the box. Just on the edge of the box, great goal. Goalie got a fingertip to it, who had a solid game. Given the circumstance, he had a very solid game, the Bolivian goalkeeper, but Pulisic, what a strike. What an absolute peach of a goal early on, and that set the tone of what we thought was going to be an absolute rout. I predicted 3-0, and the United States would at least win by 3 goals in this game, and after that goal, it was they're feeling themselves. They might win this thing 6-0, 5-0, or something like that, but that didn't necessarily happen. A lot of chances were missed in this game. Balogun had some missed chances early on, but he did get a goal. Very nice goal from Florian Balogun. I mean, Pulisic dribbled in towards the middle, cut it back out to Balogun, who took a nice little shot with his left foot across the goalie and found the bottom corner of the net to put him up 2-0, but it was a good game. It was a good game, not a great game by any stretch of the imagination, not a great game, but like we talked about going in, it was Pulisic and Anthony Robinson were expecting big things out of them, because if you look back to Bolivia's game against Colombia, Luis Diaz had himself a day. And if you look at the best players rating-wise, and I know ratings can go wherever on this thing, but Anthony Robinson and Christian Pulisic were 2 of the best players on the pitch in the game against Bolivia. And Pulisic had that freedom to creep inside. You saw Balogun go out to the left a little bit. Robinson had a lot of great overlapping runs in this game as well. Had some crosses into the box for Ricardo Pepi that he just didn't do anything with. It was kind of concerning, or kind of disheartening, I guess you could say, in regards to Ricardo Pepi's finishing abilities, especially being an FC Dallas product. You want to see him do well back in his home stadium, I guess you could say, but just a lot of missed chances. They had 20 shots in this game. 20 freaking shots for the United States. 8 on target, 2 goals. They missed a few big chances. And then we talked about the Pepi chances. Balogun did score a goal early on in the second half. Great build-up play. The United States, the build-up play, especially in the midfield, and McKinney had a very good role in this build-up, but it just got ruled offside. Just offsides. And it was the right call, but just offsides. And it sucks. Balogun did the whole square thing. You want to see that. It's like when a player goes down in the box for a penalty. It doesn't matter if they actually got touched. Your initial reaction is that, oh, that's a penalty. I don't care if you got touched or not. If a player goes down the box, my initial thought process is, oh, that's a penalty. So I like that when he scored the goal and saw the referee with his flag up, he was like, VAR that. We're going to check that one, and then obviously got ruled out. But, yeah, easy game. Easy game. Could have been worse. The United States, Bolivia is they're just not very good. And we knew that going in. Like, this is the 85th ranked national team in the world. This was a game that you would expect the United States to look pretty dominant in, even though if the scoreline doesn't necessarily feel like they could have done more, is what you really came away with this game. A lot of missed chances like we brought up before, but it's just like, what do you really take away from this? I think the main thing I guess you can look at is that you have to finish these chances against the bigger teams, because Bolivia is one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the entire Copa America. So if you're missing chances against a team like Bolivia, what is a team like Uruguay or even Panama going to do if you don't capitalize on those chances? And speaking of Uruguay and Panama coming off a 3-1 loss against Uruguay the other night, and that's a really unfair scoreline to Panama. Though Uruguay pretty much had control of the game, that scoreline didn't really look like that until the 85th minute onward. It was 1-0 for like 90% of the game. And then we saw Darwin Núñez get a goal in the 85th minute. They got a free kick goal for a nice little header in the 90th plus minute. And then Michael Murillo from the right back slot chopped it in on his left foot, on his weaker left foot, and had a beautiful shot past Rochette and goal. Just unfortunate game for Panama. Uruguay's that looks like one of the better teams in the tournament, because you look at the other top teams. I mean, Argentina had a very good game against Canada, won 2-0. Messi should have probably scored some more chances in there as well. You look at Brazil and Colombia. They didn't really flatter to deceive in their first matchup. But you look at Colombia against Paraguay. Colombia won 2-1, but it wasn't really, the Colombian performance that we saw against like the United States and Bolivia. And then you look at Brazil. They didn't look great against Costa Rica. I thought that'd be a fairly simple game for them. Like, I thought going into the tournament, Costa Rica was the bottom of that group. But they looked pretty solid against Brazil, and maybe it's more of an indictment on Brazil. I think the best part about that game, though, was Neymar's reaction to Endrick coming in for Vinicius. I think that was not... He didn't look too thrilled by that substitution decision from the Brazilian manager. But, yeah, Brazil didn't look great. They didn't look great. Neither did Colombia, but Uruguay with a 3-1 win again. For Panama, yeah. I mean, they had less possession. Uruguay actually scored pretty much double of what their XG expected goals was for this game. Their expected goals were around 1.5. They ended up scoring 3 in the game. But, yeah, Uruguay, as we thought going into the tournament, would be the natural favorite going into this group. Even though, weirdly, which I didn't think about until the tournament, started, that Uruguay is actually below the United States in the world rankings. The United States is ranked 11th. Uruguay, I believe, is at 16th in the rankings, but based off what we've seen, and even what my thought process was going into the tournament, Uruguay's the top dogs. But we'll get to the Uruguay game in a couple days from now. That game's obviously on Sunday in Kansas City, where we're going to be going to that game. So that'll be a fun one. And you look at key players for Panama in this game. Obviously, they run a 5-4-1 or a 3-4-3 or a 5-2-3 formation. So it's a very defensive-minded formation, but they've got some talent within this squad. You got Michael Murillo, who we brought up before at right wingback, plays over in France for Marseille. You got on the left side, at least in this game, you had Edgar Davis and Barcenas running down that left side. Ismael Diaz, who's a very key player for Panama going into the 2023 Gold Cup, got the fastest hat trick in Gold Cup history. In fact, didn't see any time in this game, weirdly. I don't know if that will change for this game. I would imagine you would see him at least a little bit against the United States, because he's a big player for them. And then you look at Carrasquilla, probably the best player within the national team. And you got Jose Fajardo, who played as the main number 9 in this game. He has got the most goals for the current setup in this national team. He's got 11 goals. Ismael Diaz, I believe, has 10 goals for the national team as well. But this is a very experienced national team who have played a lot of games together. And this is a team that we bring up the 2023 Gold Cup again. This is a team that a lot of these players were in that squad that beat the United States over in San Diego a year ago. So they're not scared of they're not scared of the challenge. They're not going to back down from a challenge from the big old bad United States, especially since, I don't know. But yeah, I think this is a game that the United States can't afford to take any breaks off, and you got to capitalize on those chances that you did not capitalize on against Bolivia because, again, Bolivia is a team that you can't afford to do that. I'm sorry to the Bolivian national team and any Bolivians out there watching this video. I don't know how many there are, but that was a game where you can afford to miss those types of chances. I'm not saying Panama's a bunch of world beaters or anything, but they'll definitely make you pay a lot more than what Bolivia did for the United States on Sunday. Because Panama, again, they're not going to back down from a challenge. They're not going to back down in this game at all. So the United States better not sleepwalk through this game, which is something they have a tendency to do under Greg Berhalter. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But in regards to the starting lineup in this game, obviously Matt Turner's going to stay in net. We're going to keep the 4-3-3 formation. Though, again, I bring it up like we did the last video. I'd love to see Giovanni Reyna push forward a little bit more and play more in that number 10 position rather than sitting as an 8, because I feel like he drops back a little bit too much, and you start losing him throughout the game. He's one of the most creative players within this United States men's setup, so you need him to be pushed further forward, but he drops back a little bit, so we'll see how that goes, and we're not even at the midfield yet. But in regards to the back line, Joe Scally will keep his place at right back. Anthony Robinson, again, with some of the crosses he put in the box for Pepe, had a great game against Bolivia. He will keep his spot at left back. The center backs I'm a little bit intrigued by, because Chris Richards did not necessarily have his best game against Bolivia, but these are games that you can afford to have those types of mistakes. So I don't know if we would necessarily see a full-out change in the back line. Maybe we see someone like Cameron Carter-Vickers get in that starting lineup who's known for his ball-playing ability, or maybe Berhalter turns to Miles Robinson. But who knows? Who knows? But I am going to stick with Chris Richards and Tim Ream as that center back partnership. This is a center back partnership that's been together, it feels like, for a while now. And Chris Richards, with his form at Crystal Palace and his form apart from this past game and, the Colombia game and stuff like that, he's played well for the national team. Though I would not be shocked if Cameron Carter-Vickers got a starting spot in this game against Panama. In the midfield, we already brought up Giovanni Reyna starting there, one of the most important players for the national team. Weston McKennie, he will slot in on the other side. I hope he keeps the tucked-in shirt thing. I really hope he keeps the tucked-in shirt. FC Cincinnati's newest player, potentially. Please, no, we cannot have that. Please, no. But I do hope that he keeps the tucked-in shirt for this game. And then sitting in that number 6 position, we obviously had Yunus Musa come in and start the game against Bolivia. At least that's what we predicted. Tyler Adams played the first 45 minutes. Musa came in at halftime. I would imagine they just do the same thing again, start Tyler Adams in there. Johnny Cardoso came in for Giovanni Reyna a little bit later in the game, so maybe we see some sort of shuffle in the midfield, but I would imagine as we're easing Tyler Adams back to full fitness and easing Tyler Adams back into the team, that he will retain his starting job going into this game against Panama. And as for the front line, Timothy Weah on the right, Christian Pulisic on the left, and we'll keep Florian Balogun as that number 9. I thought he had some good chances in this game. Obviously, we talked about the chance he missed early on in the game, had a goal in that game. Could have had another one if it wasn't ruled offsides, but Pepe, I wouldn't be shocked if he got a starting opportunity in this game. We didn't see the likes of Haji Wright or Josh Sargent in this game. Alexi Lalas released his striker power rankings a couple days ago, and he had Josh Sargent as number 1. And I like Josh Sargent, and obviously he's getting back into full fitness. But I think with Balogun and how he did in this game, I think he will retain his starting spot, especially coming away with the goal. That was big. I thought he played well in general. Obviously, the likes of there's some locks guaranteed each game. At least it feels like Weah, Pulisic, McKennie, Reyna. You would think those guys are relative locks. Matt Turner, these are guys that you expect to always see in the national team. But I think in general, we see potentially the exact same lineup that we saw against Bolivia, because it's kind of hard to gauge how players did in that game, because it's a game I think I've said 1,000 times that you should be able to breeze through with relative ease. But again, here's the starting line. We got Matt Turner net, Scally and Robinson at the right and left back spots, Richards and Tim Ream at center back, a midfield 3 of Giovanni Reyna, Weston McKennie, and Tyler Adams. But I wouldn't be shocked if Yunus Musa or Johnny Cardoso got starting nod in this game. You got Timothy Weah on the right, Pulisic on the left, and Balogun running through the middle. But this is a game, again, the United States should win. This is a game they should win. Going into that game against Uruguay, they should have 6 points. I'm not saying this is going to be a comfortable game. It'll be far from a comfortable game. But I am nervous and a pessimistic mindset in regards to if they lose this game, this could cause a lot of issues for the qualifying, because that Uruguay game will mean a lot. And you do not want to leave anything on the table against Uruguay, because that's one of the favorites in this tournament, one of the best teams in the tournament, and they will make you pay. And we'll get to that game eventually, because we'll get around to that. But yeah, I think the United States, I think they can come away 2-1 victors in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Panama scored rather early in this game, kind of took the United States by shock a little bit, or took them by surprise, and the United States kind of rallies and gets back into the game, and you get a late goal. Like, you get one in, like, the first half, later in the first half, and then you get a goal in, like, the 80th minute or something like a Haji Wright goal. He loves himself a late goal for the national team, if he does end up making an appearance in this game. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, I sincerely apologize. Again, United States were predicting a 2-1 victory for them against Panama down in Atlanta. And yeah, hopefully that means 6 points going to the game against Uruguay and Kansas City. I've been Logan Blackman. Check out all the links in the description down below to the different social media accounts and videos that we have down there as well. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys later. Peace.